I'll start here by saying that these pip cards, which will be included in the video, $10 a piece, or 180 for the whole set. Or if multiple people want them, more than that. But I'll start. I'll start there with my chapters 12 of the Blonde Stranger of the Creek, Astrology Without Idolatry, and I thought I'd share my shirt that I'm wearing and what it meant 12 years ago, or whenever I wrote this poem and made the shirt. Just to be clear that ISIS in this case does not mean, what people might think it means, and is, the reason why I no longer wear this shirt the past couple years. But okay. This is a revised version of what's on the shirt, written in the 15th day or night of the 7th month of 1432. And this is about the Prince of Swords, me. Astronomically correct birth chart. Striking the archer with blue. The message was of a retreat. Lucifer penetrates the triangle. Silk of God cries out, ring on, eagle, spread your power until the sting of death. Chiron and Saul appeared in the sky together, ushering in the season of marriage. While those chief in the oceans in the afterlife swam with the fishes. Unconsciously I join in with the cycles. Before, now, and henceforth with purity are my wishes. And I will start here with the Bible and astrology. As far as the Prince of Swords knows, the Princess of Cups was never a Christian, despite going along with things like Christmas gifts and greetings. She would tell him how she never believed in that stuff. He would at times bounce ideas off the content of the Bible, as it is the most believed book of their culture. Even though no one actually believes in it entirely, he thinks that this is why she would have him talk to her non-observant Jewish friend more than her other friends. The Princess of Cups would often discuss not only concepts with him, but examples and stories. Some would say that Luke 21, verse 25 through 26, would support astrology, but not in the sense of predicting, based on horoscopes, which are stellar or planetary charts of hours or days, said the Prince of Cups. The Prince of Swords. I read horoscopes before, and they seem fake or confusing, said the Princess of Cups. And if I imitate a voice here, I know I don't do a good voice of her. So, I'm not making fun if I switch into voices here. The ways to seem successful in predictions or baseless claims of knowledge is to be vague. The context of those two verses place the unusual sights of the sun, moon, and stars is the same as of the earth and its roaring seas. The power of heaven being shaken can be seen as the modern disapproving of astrology and determining or explaining fate, said the Prince of Swords. I think I have a choice in who I am, too, she said. Zephaniah links 1, verse 4 and 5, links the destruction and condemnation of those who swear by other than God with God. The priestcraft practitioners and those who go on high to worship the stars by observing them I'm not saying astronomy or even astrological language to tell a story is not allowed. Observing the hours of the day and night, as well as the lunar month and solar year, was central to biblical spirituality. Bereshit, or Genesis 1:14, clearly describes the stars as markers for the days and periods of years. He said. The Princess of Cups replied, "Stars are pretty, and thinking of time like that would be easier than months, seconds, and such. We have clocks, though." The Prince of Swords continues. Right before Jeremiah or Jeremiah goes into condemning Christmas trees as the ways of those who turn their backs on God, Yuha in the singular, and Goyim in the plural, in chapter 10, verse 2, speaks on not being dismayed by portents in the sky. She laughed. "Are you saying God hates Christmas trees?" He said, "Yes, that's in there." Princess of Cups asks, "What about the Star of Bethlehem?" There could have been an alignment that some soothsayers would have been making predictions. Matthäus, or Matthew 2:2, speaks of Magi coming from the east to find the king of the Jews, predicted by their own astrological readings. Muhammad and many other prophets had soothsayers or false prophets make predictions about them when they were children. They were wrong in doing that, even though they happened to be correct in what they said. The Prince of Swords replied, "You mean this is people making things up and saying they have religious knowledge?" The Princess of Court said the Princess of Cups. He replied, "It is easy enough to say that someone is always right because of the different people working in the many systems of astrology and such. These predictions are no more accurate than chance combined with their knowledge of people, places, and events." It makes sense that some people would hear some true parts of these sayings and rely on them, even though it was so random, she said. The Prince of Swords mentioned even the Bible proved the wise men wrong. The Bible has places where Jesus says, "My kingdom is not of this world." The Princess of Cups asked, "Why do Christians call him Lord and such thing?" He replied, "The contradictions are largely unknown and ignored in the beliefs of some." Hebrews 8:4 goes even further when it says, "If he was on earth, he wouldn't have even been a priest, as there are priests who offer gifts according to the law." This means that the wise men were wrong, according to the Holy Bible. The Princess of Cups asked, "Why do so many Christians and Jews believe in astrology in the way you are saying their own scripture speaks against?" The Prince of Swords replied, "Largely people ignore their own traditions or want to fill in gaps in their knowledge and practice with other ways. Astrological language, like the idolaters, makes it into much more than the 20th verse of the 5th chapter of Shupithnim, warlords, or judges. But that is where it's explicit. What about when it's not?" she asked. He said, "When we turn to the New Testament, we find many more references of that sort. After all, Christianity is a form of polytheism. The Jews and Christians do not have any of the original book of any prophet of God. So we can't blame the problems on any of the apostles of God. She asked, Christians say they are monotheists. He replied, they either don't know what that word means or they're lying. Because all Christians believe in the plurality of God, by number or within one. Use the word Godhead, or treat saints and angels as lesser gods. One doesn't have to use the word worship as a god to be doing it. I understand, replied the Princess of Cups. The Prince of Swords continued. Yeshaya, or Isaiah 47:13, speaks of how helpless people are with their scanning of the sky and stargazing for signs, making new predictions every month. Do you really want to be of fire, like the next verse says? It is a fire like no earthly one, without benefits. The Princess of Cups told how she didn't, and how she had seen that silliness and omen seeking and waiting for new predictions to come out. He said, Debrium, or Deuteronomy 18:10-20, may be right about how severe soothsaying is, but it's not right in this age to kill for disbelief and idolatrous practices that don't directly harm others' bodies. She replied, the Jews and Christians used to kill people for living a different faith? So you're saying one's faith is not up to a government to enforce? The Prince of Swords affirmed both and continued by saying, Shamut, or Leviticus 19:26, calls to not observe auspicious or inauspicious times, nor rely on oracles. Both terms there apply to astrology. The first part of the verse and the next verse remind us that it is not of the natural way, much in the same way eating blood and men shaving is an undue risk. Everyone shaves, though, the Princess of Cups exclaimed. He continued with, it isn't needed and increases the number of risks to health and form. People didn't shave anything for millions of years. I know people have been around for a long time, and not just thousands of years, like some of these fundamentalists say, but I get that, she replied. The Prince of Swords continued by saying, the zodiac signs are attributed to the 12 tribes of Israel. Other signs, like the Pleiades, Orion, Ursa Major, or the Big Bear, Draco, or the Dragon, Hydrus, or the Water Snake, constellations in general, and the stars in general, all find reference in the Bible. The general biblical point is that there are signs, is that these are signs of God in order and power. When we need guidance, we should look towards rules and skills of conduct. We should use our ability in terms of relationships and attitudes. When we are old enough to produce children, we should be able to go beyond the explicit circumstance of the written book, no matter what that book is. Now, good thing I was patient to finish that, because I had figured out that I initially thought, okay, I'm talking about the father stage here. I left out the mother stage, and where's the child stage? And no, I brung it up. So, and I've mentioned these things so many times to her, and I won't tell you all who she is unless you already know, and or she's given me permission to write about this. She approved. She's already read this one, this chapter before. The Princess of Cups said, I understand. I like how you talk about religion like a relationship instead of just a church, taking money and controlling people. I want to treat people better. I have poor impulse control, and that makes behaving hard. I like the stars. That was probably a combination of this quotes from different things, but he replied, "That can be helped by techniques and diet. Maybe one of these days we can go on to one of those star parties, or just go out at night observing them on our own." She replied, "I'd like that. They never did a lot of things, but God rewards good intentions, right?" He said, "The point of prophecy is to draw us closer to God, much in the way that appreciating signs does. Just as Jesus was the Lucifer or Venus of his time, according to Revelations 22:16, we too can take on some of these principles and symbolic values for ourselves. The point is to control the symbolism you use and not to let it control you. There are references to not going through the actions of soothsaying, even if you don't believe in that. Don't perform deceitful magic or even read false prophecies for entertainment. Like Daniel, we can refute them. We can carefully study the science that shows the vagueness and how people put themselves into a jam by regarding themselves as having to have a certain character or change behavior according to alignments." She responded, "So I'm supposed to control symbolism and not let it control me? I guess it would be good to understand things, and to be better in an artful sort of way." And the Princess of Cups has some changes in her viewpoints, and I thought to share from the last of that series, and this is the Princess of Cups, the Prince of Cups, and the King and Queen there, Queen obviously. That's actually her birth sign, and that was around the time where that was for the quinary period of the little Eid of the first 3 days, and the great Eid was around that time. And I think this is out of range, but once the woman stopped by with some flowers, some flour, and I had it dried, some long stem rose, and that's to give you an idea what that's about. And I believe that's in another chapter, which I can share. But her view and her expression of the subject of astrology changed somewhat between the birthday of the Princess of Cups in 2008 and the birthday of the Prince of Swords in 2009. He never quite figured out why that is. They used to occasionally talk about how the stars and planets were used as markers for historical and mythological events. They used to talk about the symbolism attached to it, as sometimes humans control rather than something that describes or dictates human history. Over the next 2 years, her expressions became dry and rigid, like out of a fortune-telling book. This was a misuse of the art in the monotheist viewpoint. He did particularly call her the Princess of Cups because she was born in the cooling quarter of the year. He had hoped she would be able to fit into the court card of her birth, or the Queen of Cups in the Thoth Tarot, or the Queen of Swords in the systems he's been working with the past few years. The last online comment of a particular format she made to him was made on June 16th, 2011, and goes as follows. "You are one of the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac, along with Taurus, Scorpio, and Aquarius. When you meet up with a strong individual such as a Taurus, you will each have to learn to give and take within the boundaries of the relationship. You have a big tender heart, seeking generously to give to your partner as long as you are receiving plenty of love, affection, and attention in return. Your Taurus lover seeks out simple pleasures and can be very sensual. The bull is ruled by the planet Venus, which places a tremendous emphasis on the value of love. The two of you come together with a strong sense of love already established within. The work is to become receptive and open to the needs of others. In this way, both of your unique ways of sharing affection can be readily accepted by each other. You need a lot of attention. Taurus needs a lot of touch. You both have the capacity of unwavering loyalty and love, but you also can be quite stubborn in your own individual ways. Without relief from harmonious placements of the moon, Venus, or Mars, your relationship can turn into a battleground where there will be no winner. And I, to clear my name here, I was never her lover. I was, the relationship was always complete. It was appropriate in that respect, rather than us being paramours or whatever. So some things implied or there don't quite fit. The Prince of Swords had revised his birth poems based on that same 33 degrees off. He had revisited his birth poems based on that same 33 degrees off birth chart. He used it to touch on personal truths and goals he was familiar with, rather than using it to divine secrets about the past, present, and future. He said as follows: "Hear me, for I am Lucifer." See Revelations 22:16, where the "I bring light" is a title for the prophet of the age, and similarly, a Lucifer means one who lives out the message of the prophets for himself. I roam between the two beasts and lay with the seven sisters. I am king who sits with the scorpions. For this I am called the Scorpion King. The messenger was in Isis, while the silver disc was full in the waters. The king of the underworld and the oceans were between waters. Chiron, the one who hands, wounded healer, great teacher, and Sol rode with the bull. Madium, Mars, Saturnus, Saturn, and Pluto were weighed against each other on the scales of judgment. And alternate lines include Lucifer, a later Latin version of Luciferos, or I illuminate, is the title of Venus, or the symbol of temporal and spiritual enlightenment, rides with rams and bulls. Lucifer rides a ram, Lucifer rides a bull. Blue on a snake, twin Mercury, silver disc full in waters, silver king of darkness, war and judgment, rings and judgment, ice and judgment. The full silver disc with the king of the waters and the king of the underworlds and the 8 sides of stability. Where's the 8 sides of stability? Yeah, there's the 8 sides of stability, right? There are Neptune, Uranus, Moon. Yeah. The Princess of Cups wrote the Prince of Swords on June 28, 2012. The observation of periods of the day and night was mentioned in her letter as something she loved about him. Observing hours of the day and lunar month are an important and effective astrological practice, whether or not one connects spiritual practices like prayer and fasting to such observable natural cycles. The mythology connected to the patterns is largely based on the shapes they form. With constellations, the shapes they form are often connected to the mythology of the people who decide their compositions. People who ask what sign people are often do not understand this, nor do they tend to understand how vague and universally applicable some of these associations with the signs are how some of these attributes are just shuffled around between one system and the next. She wondered what her sign. She wondered what his sign was, and either way, his sign is Aries in this age of Aquarius. She said, "Cosmic forces have brought us together, and it will take a big bang to tear us apart, or bring us together as we both unite." I didn't get a lot of what she meant in that letter, or some of the communications that followed, but I tried to put the messages together for her in astrological and other framework. Maybe she wouldn't act them out so much, but he always seemed to have an effect on her. The message was of truth and dedication to God, with what is right. To think of cosmic patterns as one way to connect with God. The Mayan calendar and other end time scenarios. I have Mayan books on the shelf, but I guess I'm not grabbing those. The Princess of Cups was worried about the end of times in the Mayan calendar on December 16th, 2012. The Prince of Swords pointed out that just as the Aztec long calendar didn't predict the end of the world, the Mayan long calendar didn't either. Both fit into the century and a half that puts the seeming gap in the Milky Way at the winter solstice. August 13th, 1999 was a pivotal point in the Aztec calendar, as December 21st or 23rd, 2012 was for the Mayan calendar. Neither one predicted the end of humanity or the world by any stretch. Many astronomical alignments and events had been part of end-time predictions or general disaster predictions without any reason beyond symbology to support them. Comets have been part of catastrophic events. Other alignments that coincided with disasters were remembered and attributed to them falsely. I think that the actual prophets of God spoke of signs, but they didn't lay down the hour that way. People attributed the seasonal events to the stars, and that is part of why the astrology that most speak of is inaccurate in the way it speaks of the seasons and of the way it speaks of the constellations rising with the sun that didn't on those days of the year for hundreds or thousands of years. Astrology should not be an art that is used to cause people undue worry. Decans. The Prince of Swords shared with the Princess of Cups about the 36 decantes of astrology, and their place in his new tarot series in Jumada al-Awwal 1435. That's the 5th month of the sacred calendar, or around the vernal equinox of 2014 of the Common Era. He had previously reminded her that the true placement of the quinaries was not the first of the sequence as the first in Aries, but the sequence of 72 really starts 8 earlier. So that leaves the first of 36 decans as being the last or third in Aquarius. The Prince of Cups, therefore, started and ended his sequence of tarot cards with the Aquarius as the cups. Before he told her, she likely noticed that out of the 8 planets, Sun, Moon, each is given 3 except the Sun, which is given 8, and Venus, which is given 4. The Prince of Swords spent time thinking out both the astronomical accuracy and astrological themes of the era. The Sun is attributed to the equinoxes, the solstice, and the cross-quarter points, which start the seasons in Old English and other ways of thinking. Spring was the warming quarter, summer was the bright quarter, fall was the cooling quarter, winter was the dark quarter. Pentacles is earth, swords is air, Wands is fire, Cups is water. And this is more based on the Golden Dawn system, but I'm going to show you my one by one, starting with this 10-11 day period. We have Saturn in Libra, Jupiter in Libra, Mars in Scorpio, Sun in Scorpio, Venus in Scorpio, Moon in Pisces, Saturn in Pisces, Jupiter in Pisces. Wait. That's supposed to go after the Aquarius. Jupiter in Capricorn. Mars in Capricorn. Sun in Capricorn. Venus in Aquarius. Mercury in Aquarius. Another Mercury in Aquarius. Mercury in Sagittarius. Moon in Sagittarius. Saturn in Sagittarius. Mars in Aries. Sun in Aries. Venus in Aries. Mercury in Taurus. Sun in Taurus. Saturn in Taurus. Jupiter in Gemini. Mars in Gemini. Sun in Gemini. Venus in Cancer. Mercury in Cancer. Venus in Libra. In Virgo. Mercury in Virgo. Moon in Libra. Moon in Cancer. Saturn in Leo. Jupiter in Leo. Mars in Leo. Sun in Virgo. And that's also my sequence for the like the Thoth Tarot series, but here's a different sequence. Two of Cups, or hearts is Sun in Aquarius and has the constellations Cetus or sea monster of discord, rebel. Three of swords, spades is Uranus in Pisces and has the constellation Cephas or flock, king of Ethiopia. Four of swords, spades is Mercury in Pisces and has the constellation Andromeda or of a man, princess. Five of swords, spades is Neptune in Pisces and has the constellation Cassiopeia or Cassia juice, queen. Six of pentacles, diamonds, is Sun in Aries and has the constellation Triangulum or triangle. Seven of pentacles, diamonds, is Venus in Aries and has the constellation Eridanus or river of fire. Eight of pentacles, diamonds, is Mercury in Aries. It has the constellation Perseus or destroyer. Nine of wands, clubs, is Jupiter in Taurus and has the constellation Lepus or hare. 10 of wands, clubs, is Mars in Taurus and has the constellation Orion or light of heaven, mead. 2 of wands, clubs, is Sun in Taurus and has the constellation Auriga or Charitor. 3 of cups, hearts, is Moon in Gemini and has the constellation Ursa Minor or Little Bear. 4 of cups, hearts, is Uranus in Gemini and has the constellation Canis Major or Big Dog. 5 of cups, hearts, is Neptune in Gemini and has the constellation Ursa Major or Big Bear. 6 of swords, spades, is Sun in Cancer and has the constellation Canis Minor, our little dog. 7 in swords, spades, is Pluto in Cancer and has the constellation Hydrus, or submersed plant, water serpent. 8 of swords, spades, is Neptune in Cancer and has the constellation Argo, or swift. 9 of pentacles, diamonds, is Saturn in Leo and has the constellation Cratura, or impact depression, cup. 10 of pentacles, diamonds, is Venus in Leo and has the constellation Centauros, or half man, half horse, 100 men. 2 of pentacles, diamonds, is the Sun in Leo and has the constellation Corvus, or raven. 3 of wands, clubs, is Mars in Virgo and has the constellation Utes, or herdsman, plow driver, shepherd. 4 of wands, clubs, is Jupiter in Virgo and has the constellation Hercules, or kneeling man, glory of beautiful woman. 5 of wands, clubs, is Saturn in Virgo and has the constellation Corona Borealis, or northern crown. 6 of cups, hearts, is Sun in Libra and has the constellation Serpens, or snake. 7 of cups, hearts, is Moon in Libra and has the constellation Draco, or dragon. 8 of cups, hearts, is Pluto in Libra and has the constellation Lupus, or wolf. 9 of swords, spades, is Venus in Scorpio and has the constellation Apicus, or snake charmer, serpent bearer, snake wrestler, serpent holder. 10 of swords, spades, is Uranus in Scorpius and has the constellation Aura, or parched place, burn, blow. 2 of swords, spades, is Sun in Scorpio and has the constellation Corona Australis, or southern crown. 3 of pentacles, diamonds, is Venus in Sagittarius and has the constellation Lyra, or Herp. 4 of pentacles, diamonds, is Mercury in Sagittarius and has the constellation Aquila, or eagle. 5 of pentacles, diamonds, is Saturn in Sagittarius and has the constellation Sagitta, or arrow. 6 of wands, clubs, is Sun in Capricornus and has the constellation Cygnus, or swan. 7 of wands, clubs, is Mars in Capricornus and has the constellation Delphinus, or dolphin. 8 of wands, clubs, is Jupiter in Capricornus and has the constellation Equuleus, or foal, colt. 10 of cups, hearts, is Moon in Aquarius and has the constellation Pegasus, or spring, well, lightning. And these are in my Ekankar alchemical geometry tarot series. This is the attributes that I figured out for this one. The Prince of Swords reminded the Princess of Cups that the Prince and Ace are the court cards that indicate the quadrants of the sky rather than the cardinal fixed and mutable signs as the Queens, Libra, Capricorn, Aries, and Cancer, Kings, Scorpio, Aquarius, Taurus, and Leo, and Princes, Sagittarius, Pisces, Gemini, and Virgo do. The Ace of Pentacles sits on the throne of the Princess of Pentacles with Libra, Scorpius, and Sagittarius. Starting with the Celtic New Year's, the key phrases of meaning for these 9 decans are ethics, self-sufficiency, make haste, resourceful, responsible duty, achievement, initiate, devotee, adventure, and enlightenment useful. The Ace of Swords sits on the throne of the Princess of Swords with Capricornus, Aquarius, and Pisces. Starting with the Chinese New Year, the key phrases of meaning for those 9 decans include organized, skill, martyrdom, idealistic, removal of problems, original, fragment, small picture, inspiration, revelation, soul travel, astral travel, suppression, oppression, state of reality, altruism, and alternating conditions. The Ace of Wands sits on the throne of the Princess of Wands with Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. Continuing in the same order, one finds key phrases of meaning of these 9 decans as action, cause and effect, rule, overwhelm, encouragement, fertility, steadfastness, striving, that's what jihad is, mastery, intuitive, faithful, and intellect. The Ace of Cups sits on the throne of the Princess of Cups with Cancer, Leo, and Virgo. Onwards, we find meaning of those 9 decans, including feelings, emotions, states of being, sublimation, investigations, leader, purpose, refinement, drive, attain, experience, and austerity. And one may be asking why in this decan series is it not Mars as the one right before the vernal equinox and after, that it's Mercury in this case. Well, Mercury because the messenger prophets, the exemplar prophets, don't we? Whether you're in the middle there with the sword of prophet, that just confirms the message. No, God didn't appoint you to send a particular message to humanity that, or reveal a book to you that not the prophet's fold, but we're supposed to do that job now. Enough of the message has survived, and we can figure out enough of the rest. We're supposed to spread the message now. It's an international age, and that is why. The Sun, Moon, and lunar nodes, and the planets. On January 8th, 2013, the Princess of Cups told the Prince of Swords, "I really like the astrology stuff you mentioned." The next day, she left out the word really, but enthusiasm with the subject often fades from one day to the next. Bouncing it off tarot cards or symbolism reinforced the idea that we are not destined to be or remain as the character type of the card for the period of our birth. We could always compose our own deck specified to our attributes and experience, though. She thought that he was really the good things she listed about his prince card according to both the old and new attributes, though. The Princess of Cups saw the Princess of Swords that The Princess of Cups saw the Prince of Swords as being the one that she could uplift herself with and stay on the right path. This and that he would be someone to help her fill her life with meaning, purpose, and new experience were things she said in each of the 4 years before that as well. The Prince of Swords said the planets, sun, and moon, and their so-called compatibilities would need to be fixed to this age of the formerly red lion that turned green. The idea of the stellar bodies exerting more than their influence of gravity, light, and other forces was commonly refuted by the Islamic astronomers of this age that started 1448 years ago. I know the year is 1437 right now, and it's only the 5th day, but, including when Prophet Muhammad got the message. The idea that Mercury would have a similar level of effect to larger planets and the stars would be irrelevant when not part of known constellations was asserted enough. The Sun could now be said to rule Taurus and be exalted in Capricornus. Mercury could now be said to rule Pisces and Sagittarius, which also exalts it. Venus could be said to rule Leo and Cancer, while being exalted in Gemini. The Moon could be said to rule Libra and exalted in Leo. Mars could be said to rule Capricorn and Aquarius, while being exalted in Aries. Jupiter could be said to rule Pisces and Virgo, while being exalted in Libra. Saturn could be said to rule Scorpius and Aries, while being exalted in Cancer. Uranus could be said to rule Scorpio and be exalted in Aquarius. Neptune could be said to rule Gemini and be exalted in Libra. Pluto could be said to rule Aquarius and be exalted in Taurus. We'd have to say this is symbolic and not actual to be in accord with the science of planetary influence. Think of works well and such with rules and the like of most powerful and with exalted, and one can willy-nilly change this if one wants to come up with one's own system, of course. He continued by saying, the planets have symbolic importance that is probably more constant than that of the zodiac. The sun is used as a metaphor for spirit, consciousness, individuality, masculine, dignity, honor, man, father, and authority figure. Mercury is used as a symbol for mind, reason, self-expression, communication, knowledge, intelligence, movement, friend, mediator, teachers, counselors, guide, and sibling. Venus is a symbol of love, beauty, art, social life, harmony, integration, attraction, young woman, lover, mistress, and artist. Moon may refer to soul, instinct, unconscious, feminine, the nation, the religious organization, the church, relative, woman, mother, and wife. The moon's lunar node is a symbol of eclipses. Solar eclipses only happen when the moon passes through the ecliptic during a new moon. We only have a lunar eclipse during a full moon passing through the ecliptic. New symbol of community, family, alliance, adaptability, the astral relatives, neighbors, groupie, friends, and associate. The north node of the moon is a sign of soul purpose and karmic future. The south node is a symbol of ingrained habits and karmic past. Mars is used as a metaphor for will, desire, energy, enthusiasm, temper, arrogance, passion, young man, fighter, athlete, and craftsman. Jupiter is used to refer to idealism, vision, expansion, mania, success, popularity, religion, philosopher, guru. The wealthy, psychologists, doctors, nurses, support group, and hospice. Saturn is a symbol of reality, pragmatism, contraction, depression, body, definition, concentration, organization, miner, merchant, economist, and businessman. Uranus is a symbol of altruism, originality, dependence, inspiration, abstraction, individualist, inventor, eccentric, rebel, and revolutionary. Neptune is a symbol of divinity, idealism, spirituality, dream life, clairvoyance, sensitivity, medium, psychic, musician, and an addict. Pluto is a symbol of power, the masses, magic, propaganda. Force majeure, frankness, force, politician, actor, and magician. There are a number of planetoids and asteroids and other stellar bodies that have been given symbolism too. There are even astrologers that use theories and mythology about a second sun and our planets of the far reaches of our solar system in their symbolic and literary constructs. Mars is will, desire, energy, enthusiasm, temper, arrogance, passion, young man, fighter, athletes, and craftsmen. Jupiter is used to refer to idealism, vision, expansion, mania, success, popularity, religion, philosopher, guru, the wealthy, psychologists, doctors, nurses, support group, and hospice. Saturn, reality, pragmatism, contraction, depression, bodily definition. Okay. And on to the zodiac constellations. She was born 9 years, 3 months, and 3 days after him in the same date, in the same state. The Prince of Swords sun sign is Aries. This is true whether one makes the portions equal with the equinoxes and solstices, starting with the last third of the so-called fixed signs, or one places them similar to Aquarius as February 16 to March 11, Pisces is March 11 through April 18th, Aries is April 18th through May 14th, Taurus is May 15th to June 21st, Gemini is June 22nd to July 20th, Cancer is July 21st to August 17th, Leo is August 13th through September 16th, Virgo is September 17th through October 31st, Libra is November 1st through 23rd, Scorpio is November 24th to December 18th, Sagittarius is December 19th to January 19th, and Capricorn is January 20th through February 16th. The other equal portions can put the signs around the cross quarters as starting about 5 days beforehand, R being 1/6 before that point, and 5/6 afterwards. Either way, that would make the sun sign of the Princess of Cups Cancer, even though some would place her as Leo. January 9th, 2013, left the Princess of Cups wanting the Prince of Swords to tell her more about what meaning is connected to the zodiac signs and their compatibilities. He was unsure what she meant by their values, though. It could be the numbers of the tarot cards, starting with Aquarius, as 17, 18, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11, 9, 8, 13, 14, and 15. It could be the values of those letters of the alphabet as 5, 100, 96, 7, 8, 20, 10, 9, 50, 60, and 70. As much as belief in astrology can affect action and character, such is the same with what signs are compatible. All sorts of character categories can find any combination of compatibilities and incompatibilities. It would all depend on the beliefs, attitudes, morals, and ethics of the people involved. Just as certain paths will work for everyone, if they knew how to properly make it theirs. No two people are doomed to not get along based on what categories they are or were. The signs of Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius are the domain of the disc or pentacle princess card sitting in the pentacle or disc ace card and are symbolic of body, sensation, diamonds, and earth. Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces are the Pisces are the domain of the Sword Princess card, sitting on the throne of the Sword Ace card, and are symbolic of mind, thinking, spades, and air. Aries, Taurus, and Gemini are the domain of the Wand Princess card that sits on the throne of the Wand Ace card, are references to spirit, intuition, clubs, and fire. Cancer, Leo, Virgo are the domain of the Princess Cups cards. Like all princesses, she sits on the throne of her ace. They refer to emotions, feelings, heart, and water. Aquarius was Mugula, or the Great One, and later Ha, or Pitcher to the Sumerians and Babylonians. Today, it used to mean observation, planning, Lent, waiting, fasting, abstraction, conscious, humanitarian, detached, coldness, utopian, altruism, and scientific. The Sumerians and Babylonians called Pisces Mulsamak, or swallower's tail, and called it Dununu, or fish cord later on. Currently, it is a symbol for swelling seed, psychic impulses, seclusion, purifying brain, serenity,